107.5 The Game Podcasting is sponsored by Modern Exterminating, a family-oriented company. Professional, honest, and dependable pest control solutions. We're your one-stop shop for all pests.
It was a rainy night on October 1st in 1994 when South Carolina took down LSU. LSU was wearing their purple jerseys that night, and there was a backwards pass. I think it was Jamie Bradford and I discussed this yesterday. We went down a little bit of a trip down memory lane for that. A Steve Tannehill pass to Toby Cates in the back of the end zone. It was a incredible victory down there. Brad Scott got all excited, threw his hat. He had the hat, threw it into the stands after the game and started that little tradition. And it was a great night for the Gamecocks, and one that I think we probably should have celebrated much, much more if you'd known it was going to be basically another 30 years before you have 30 years without a victory.
And look, LSU in the 31 years since that happens had a lot of really good teams, multiple national championships, and all that kind of stuff. Not that there's any shame to having a losing streak to a team like that, because they're consistently pretty good, but that's what makes last year's game sting so much, because you were so close. You obviously played the second half without Lenore Sellers. Controversial officiating certainly didn't help things out. You feel like this is a very beatable team. And going back to what we talked about a little bit earlier on, when we talk about what the standard for LSU was going into the year and them not living up to it, you feel like if you go out there and play your best game and they continue to play the way that they've been playing this year, then you really have an opportunity to go in there and steal one from them in Death Valley and get yourself back on track on where you obviously want to be in terms of pursuing goals for the year. So this doesn't seem like something that's 10,000 miles away that you're never going to be able to achieve. It's certainly there for the taking. You just got to go out there and not make some of the mistakes you made earlier on in the season.
South Carolina, 10.5-point underdog. Games in Death Valley. It's at night, where, as Les Miles said, dreams go to die. Not a lot of reason to be hopeful. Not a lot of reason to have confidence, but we have some. I'll start with you. Give me reason number one.
I think you've seen Lenore Sellers play his best in these last two games. Now, against Missouri, it was obviously throwing the ball, and that was the only reason Carolina was in that game at the very end, to begin with, because what he was doing, through the air. And then against Kentucky, and whether that be that Kentucky just didn't have the talent on defense to be able to slow him down, or he finally was able to find some of those lanes that he's been looking for, he returned to his former self when it came to running the football. And if you can get a combination of those two things coming up on Saturday, see how he played against, some of the better teams down the stretch last year, then you've got a chance in this game. When number 16 is playing his best football, he's going to give you a chance every single time. And I like what I saw going into the bye week on both sides of that for him, and hopefully that's what he carries into this game Saturday. If Carolina runs out there and, jumps up 14-0, halfway through the second quarter, and, Nussmeier goes out there and they have a 3-and-out and have to punt, I could really see that fan base booing him coming off the field, booing Brian Kelly and all that kind of stuff. And that obviously isn't what wins and loses games, but you are taking the crowd out of it, because that belief in them and what they see with their team isn't where it needs to be, and that can obviously, play to your advantage. So, yeah, you have a fan base that's a little bit testy, I guess, is the best word to use it, and you have the ability to kind of maybe push them over the edge a little bit if things go your way and LSU's struggling a little bit on Saturday.